How did news media go from informing the public to dividing the nation? Once the evening news was a shared American ritual. Anchors like Walter Cronkite were trusted voices reporting facts with minimal spin. But in the modern era, news has morphed from a public service into a ratings war, profit machine, and political weapon. Today's media environment is fast, emotional, and often tribal. Outrage grabs attention, algorithms amplify bias, and news increasingly feels less like information and more like ammunition. People don't just disagree on opinions, they disagree on facts. Cable networks cater to ideological audiences. Social media tailors our feeds to what we already believe. Many don't even realize they're inside an echo chamber until the noise drowns out dissent entirely. This isn't about left versus right. It's about trust. Who do we believe, and how can we know they're telling the truth? If the Fourth Estate is meant to safeguard democracy, what happens when it becomes part of the battle? The loss of trust in media isn't just inconvenient, it's dangerous. When people no longer agree on reality, collaboration becomes impossible. Civic dialogue breaks down and polarization deepens. We stop listening, start shouting, and retreat further into our own corners. This video isn't here to pick a side. It's here to unpack how we got here, and how we can each begin to think more critically, consume more wisely, and step outside the divide. Why do media companies prioritize controversy over clarity? Media outlets are businesses. Their revenue relies on views, clicks, shares, and subscriptions. Unfortunately, calm, balanced reporting doesn't drive engagement to the extent that outrage does. Conflict sells. And emotional headlines outperform rational ones every time. As a result, news often focuses on sensationalism, fear, or villainization. The more extreme the narrative, the more profitable the reaction. It's not about informing, it's about addicting. Think of how often you've read a headline that made your blood boil, only to realize the article didn't match the tone of the headline at all. That's not a glitch, it's the model. Clickbait thrives while nuance dies in the process. Cable networks have perfected this formula with split-screen debates, flashy graphics, and loaded questions. It's no accident that we remember how stories made us feel more than we remember what the stories actually said. To break this cycle, we need to recognize the machine. Outrage isn't just a byproduct, it is the product. How does personalized news feed our confirmation bias? Social media platforms and even news apps are designed to show us what we already agree with. The more we like or click on certain views, the more we're fed content that reinforces those views. It feels comfortable, but it's limiting. Over time, this creates filter bubbles. We hear only one side of the story. We start to believe that anyone who disagrees is misinformed, dangerous, or even evil. Nuance is lost, replaced by caricatures of the other side. It becomes less about finding truth and more about defending one team or another. And when people venture outside their bubble, they're often met with hostility, not curiosity. And the scariest part? We often don't even realize it's happening. The bubble doesn't look like a bubble when viewed from the inside. It looks, and seems, like the whole world. Breaking out takes conscious effort. It's not comfortable, but it is crucial. Why are so many news shows really just commentary? Once news and opinion were clearly separated. Today, many networks blur the lines. Pundits dominate prime time. Anchors deliver monologues. Stories are framed to drive a narrative, and not simply to report facts. This shift isn't just style, it shapes perception. When facts are presented with a tone of moral judgment or emotional urgency, viewers internalize both the information and the spin. And because many viewers only watch one outlet, that spin becomes their reality. What was once a fact now has a political flavor. Neutral reporting feels boring, and polarized opinion feels powerful. Audiences often trust these personalities more than institutions. But pundits aren't always held to journalistic standards. They can make bold claims without needing solid evidence, so long as it keeps viewers hooked. To stay informed, we must ask, are we watching news or just someone's version of it? Are there truly balanced sources of news anymore, or is neutrality a myth? Some claim all media is biased. Others argue objectivity is a smokescreen. But many still long for news that feels honest, fair, and clear. Does it exist? Organizations like Reuters, AP, and PBS aim for neutrality, but even they face scrutiny. The very concept of objectivity is now politically charged. One person's neutral is another's bias. What we consider center shifts based on our own beliefs. If we're deep in a bubble, even balanced reporting can feel hostile or incomplete. Still, there are tools to help: media bias charts, cross-checking stories, and reading from both sides. True neutrality may be elusive, but clarity and fairness are still possible. Being informed today means being active, not passive. It's not about finding one perfect outlet. It's about learning how to compare, contrast, and critically think. How does the language of news shape how we think and feel? Words matter. The difference between protest and riot, healthcare reform and government takeover shapes public opinion before the story even begins. Language is a powerful tool, and sometimes a powerful weapon. Headlines often use emotional triggers to evoke anger, fear, or tribal pride. This isn't just about informing, it's about guiding your response. Framing isn't always dishonest, but it's rarely neutral. Repetition reinforces belief. If we keep hearing that a group is radical or a leader is tyrannical, it starts to feel true regardless of the context. When every story is urgent, outrageous, or existential, we lose the ability to distinguish signal from noise. Everything feels like a crisis, and we become exhausted, anxious, and cynical. Learning to spot manipulative language is step one in reclaiming your ability to think for yourself. How do we stay aware without being overwhelmed or misled? Being informed in today's world is a balancing act. We need enough information to engage responsibly, but not so much that we spiral into fear, anger, or paralysis. The goal isn't to consume every story, it's to understand the forces shaping them. Who wrote it? What's their goal? What facts are missing? What's the tone? We also need to recognize that no source is perfect. Mistakes happen. Bias exists. But awareness is powerful. When we know the flaws, we can compensate for them. Building a media diet from multiple sources helps. So does taking breaks. An informed mind is also a rested one. Ultimately, the responsibility isn't just on the media, it's on us. Is constant media consumption harming our mental health and our democracy? We say we hate the news, but we can't stop watching. The dopamine hits from feeling outrage, plus the social bonding over shared anger, it's addictive. And that addiction is being monetized. Studies show that heavy news consumers report higher levels of stress, fear, and helplessness. When everything feels broken, people either disengage or radicalize. This emotional roller coaster fuels voter apathy, conspiracy theories, and division. It's hard to have civil discourse when you're constantly on edge. To reclaim our minds, we need boundaries. Curate your news intake. Set time limits. Focus on action, not outrage. Informed doesn't mean inflamed. The world needs clarity now more than ever. What does it take to stay informed without being consumed? We live in a time when the noise never stops. The news cycle is constant, overwhelming, and emotionally exhausting. And instead of bringing us together, it often drives us apart. It's not just what we're being told, it's how we're being told it. Fear, anger, and outrage dominate the headlines, not because they reflect reality, but because they generate clicks. But despite all of this, most people don't want division. They don't want to hate their neighbors, to fear their future, or live in a constant state of anxiety. What they want is truth, context, and honesty, a way to understand what's really happening in the world, without feeling manipulated or misled. That kind of understanding requires effort. It means questioning the framing of stories, cross-checking sources, and being open to uncomfortable truths, even when they challenge our beliefs. Most of all, it means stepping outside of the media echo chambers that so many of us live in, often without realizing it. Staying informed today is less about choosing a side, and more about resisting the extremes. We don't need to agree on everything, but we need to agree that facts matter, and that all of us lose when those facts are bent to fit political agendas. The only way forward is to find clarity in the complexity, and to resist the temptation to simplify the world into us versus them. It also requires empathy. People on the other side aren't your enemy. They're likely victims of the same media environment as you are. If we can stop seeing each other as products of a political team and start seeing each other as fellow citizens, then we stand a chance at healing the fractures. This isn't about abandoning the news, it's about reclaiming it. Reclaiming your attention, reclaiming your emotional peace, and above all, reclaiming your right to think for yourself in a world that profits from you not doing so. Are you thinking for yourself, or are you being led by the news media? Let us know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell if this video made you think differently. And share it with someone that might need to be enlightened as well. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.